Hi there, everyone. Ann Barnes here, parent coach, retired social worker. Today we're going to be talking about child-centered learning. Before I go any further, obviously I want to welcome you all. And if you would like to ask any questions or make any comments, it's always best to go through StreamYard because then we can see who's commenting, right? And so why child-centered learning? Well, during the pandemic, with the Facebook group that I have, a community that we've got here, there's a lot that have talked about how difficult it is to get their kids motivated or interested in something. And so the question is, it's not just for when your kid is in elementary school. We know that when they get into the teen years, some schools or some beliefs are that we need to do a lot of test taking, we need to do a lot of assignments, and yet you can see, and I know as a former mental health practitioner, that we would see a lot of kids, like teens and young adults, that had no idea what lights them up, no idea of what could interest them, and so it becomes a big challenge. How do you nurture a kid's natural curiosity for lifelong learning? So to lead the way, we're going to have Terry here, Terry Del Signore, who is a mom of 3 kids here in Ontario, Canada. So welcome, Terry.
Hi. Hello, everybody.
Yeah, so it's great. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about your story and what piqued your interest in child-centered learning.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So my kids are all the way from, my son is almost 20, and then I have a 13-year-old daughter and another 10-year-old daughter. So so this goes back a lot of years because I started reading John Holt books when my son, who's 20, almost 20, was just a little toddler. So John Holt, he sort of was the first person to coin the term unschooling, or set the idea that you can follow the child's interest rather than a set curriculum. And so that kind of started there, I guess. But where my interest started, actually, to be honest, it's a little earlier than that, because for me, it a lot of times it relates to our own school experience. So for me, school, I felt like it destroyed my love of learning. I have realized when I left school that I actually loved learning. I love learning. I'm constantly learning, but I felt that school had sucked the joy out of learning for me in my own situation. So that started there. So I didn't want that for my kids. So I started looking into other options, and that's been a 20-year journey, or something like that, in the high teens journey to get to where I'm at right now. So that's where it started. I don't know how much to say on that. So
well, I think that's good. I mean, I think and obviously your personal story about having like sucking the joy out of learning, it kind of like informed you, like you kind of like pushed you to seek out. Is this the only way we can learn?
Yeah, totally. Right? Totally. I would have for sure. And I pretty much was labeled ADD, not H, no hyper. I wasn't hyper, but I was the kid in the back of the room that was looking out the window. My report cards constantly said I would do so much better if I stopped daydreaming. I was that kid. So, and out of my 3, I have one that's like me, that's like that. The other 2 are not. They actually would learn really well in an environment where it was just continuous audio or a teacher talking. They would do okay in that. I didn't. And I don't know, maybe as a young parent, I assumed that my kids would all end up like me, and they weren't, which is kind of funny, and I don't know why I thought that at that time, but.
So then maybe like you can start maybe with one of your kids, like, because now you have a 20-year-old or.
Yeah. I have a really interesting story in that sense, because it's a really mixed up situation, but we lived really, really rurally. When we didn't live really rurally, my son was unschooled, I guess you could say. And there was we were in this community where there was actually a lot of other homeschool, like there was a lot going on. I mean, there was even sports events for them, and there was everything, swimming, there was all kinds of stuff we were part of. We were part of a really great network. of homeschoolers. Then we moved. So my son is quite a bit older than the other two. So then we moved into an area that was really rural, and he is just such a butterfly, like a social butterfly. So then we had to, I had to come up with another idea. Like, how do I get this kid? So we were in this really great community, and I thought we'll try out school and see how he likes it. So he started school from basically unschooling, completely unschooling, to going into the middle of grade 5. And then my other two ended up going to that same school. So they both started school for the first few years of life, and then he finished school for the last few years up till all the way he actually graduated. So now my other two, they had the experience of school in the beginning and then taken out, and my son has the experience of completely no school to being thrown into school. So it's kind of interesting. I have a lot of experience in that, at both those dynamics.
So what prompted you to take your kids then out of school, the younger ones, the one that's 13 and 10? How long were they like in a traditional classroom?
Yeah, so youngest would have been grade, she would have finished grade 1.
Okay.
Older would have finished grade 4. So
okay. And
no,
how
wait, actually, you know what? I'm wrong. Grade 2. It was a grade 2 and grade 5. Sorry. And
okay.
And then again, what happened is we moved away from that community, where actually it was a beautiful school. We were K to 12 school, so all the way from kindergarten to grade 12, and there was only 80 kids in the whole school. So it was like a little village, a little community, a little family. We left that, and we left that for the city in Ontario, and it was very, very different, and it was very much a culture shock to my younger two. My son did great because he's just very social and just very able to adapt easily. And then my youngest, so the reason that I know Ann Barnes actually is because my youngest has anxiety. So we've met through other groups in that. So my youngest is anxious. So it was absolutely a nightmare. Like, it was her just crying and clinging to my leg, trying to get her on the bus. It was a dark cloud in our entire family. It was just too much. Looking back at that now, knowing that with her anxiety, it should have been approached differently, but it wasn't. And it basically ended up being traumatic for her, like genuinely straight up traumatic, and panic attacks and everything. So I pulled her out. So then I decided that wasn't good anymore. It was good in the small community in the village, and it was beautiful and wonderful, but it wasn't good where we were living. So I pulled her out of school. And then my middle child, she's the one that's like me, the daydreamer staring in the back of the classroom and out the window. So she's always just a little bit behind in things. And so she was feeling really behind in a different, faster paced school. So I gave her I gave them the choice. I always give the kids the choice. Like, I was like, you can stay home with us and we'll do our own thing, or because she really likes the people. So it was a tough choice for her. And she just ultimately decided that it was better for her to not be at school and feeling so behind constantly all the time. And it's sort of, honestly, like, it sort of makes you feel like there's something wrong with you. Like, it's the way I grew up. When you have ADD, you kind of feel like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just do the answers like the rest of the kids and listen and follow along? Like, what's wrong with me? I didn't like that. I could see that change in her in a big way. Actually, I remember she started in the beginning of the year. She would do this little twirl on her way to school because she loves seeing other kids and she loved that aspect of social. She would twirl and then off to school, and I started to see a real change in her demeanor and her joy. It felt like her joy was being sucked away. So then anyway, she's agreed, yeah, I do want to stay home, and we've been doing that ever since. So yeah, it's been really good.
What would you say, like, getting back to the idea of the natural curiosity, and what did you notice with these two, the 13-year-old and the 10-year-old? Because they've been out for a while now.
Yeah, and I realized, like, so this strings of school, like they get all these little strings attached to you, and you think you need to be a little puppet and do all the things that you're told you have to do. It should be this way. You can't learn unless you're taught. Like all these ideas that I kind of laugh about because I had been totally raised my son not to be like that at all. But so he was the opposite. He went into school like, free as a bird. And they kind of came out of school like, what, you mean we're not going to have a test? Like, I want to have a test. Like, how am I going to know if I'm learning? So I kind of had to laugh about all the different ways that, so we kind of had to just sort of like, I'm okay. Okay, you want to do a spelling test? Sure, fine, we'll do a spelling test. Personally, I don't think we need to do a spelling test, but if that's what you think we need to do, then we'll do that, So they've sort of had some interesting change in dynamics of like what they thought school should be, and me trying to teach them that we learn whether we do a test or we don't. We're learning, and
very interesting what you said there. You can't learn unless you're taught, and I think a lot of mainstream mentality is exactly that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're told that. Yeah, we're very much programmed that.
Yeah, like how is my kid going to absorb? Well, actually, they're absorbing the whole time.
Constantly.
It's like that is like a sponge. I mean, that's what they say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what would you say then has been like for the 13-year-old?
Yeah.
So what would you say like related to because you were saying about the ADD and maybe that kind of being maybe like a setback or like perceived setback. So then what did you notice when she started to get into more of the groove of being homeschooled?
Yeah. So the thing that I found with ADD is that actually, if you tap into, there's an ability to hyperfocus, and there are actually some really great strengths within that. I'm a creative person, and she is too. So I tap into that. I'm an artist for living. I earn money as an artist. So when you step away from this idea that it's a bad thing, and you sort of play on the good aspects of it, the ability to hyperfocus, the creativity, and giving her the freedom really helps her bloom. And it there's years where I thought something was really broken and wrong with me, where that was just wasted years, that I could have been focusing on something better. I mean, everything is, I'm not looking back and regret or anything, because everything has brought me to where I am, and that's great. But I'm just thinking, I want to save that didn't save my daughter from going through that kind of idea that you're not smart because you aren't learning the way the other kids learn. I used to think that. I wouldn't even think like that for a second, but I could see my daughter thinking that, and I wanted to intervene on that. So she does really well just with freedom. Really, honestly, she loves to be in her room and do her own thing, like do her own work. Something that's interesting about so she'll say it's, and the other thing is she's a really deep thinker. So she doesn't get things quickly, and neither do I. I don't pick up concepts really quickly, but I get them on a deeper level. Like I need some time for them to absorb. That's the way I work. And I notice that she works like that too. So she asks really deep questions that I don't have answers to. So we both go into learning them, or I'll say, write that down, because we don't have time for that this moment, but write that one down. That's a really good question. And then talking about the interest base. So she's really into travel and style. So she likes to read. I've been trying to get her to work on a magazine, like little by, like helping her piece out little by little. So about a travel and style magazine. So she will do like a one article at a time or something, and then we'll try to piece it together at the end. So she's interested in that. Another thing, the other day she was saying, we were talking about an old nursery rhymes, and she was saying, there's actually a really dark meaning behind that old nursery rhyme. And she said, like, actually, I've heard a lot of dark meanings behind old nursery rhymes. And then I was like, yeah, I think I've heard stuff about that too, but I don't know a lot. So she loves PowerPoint. She thinks she's like really smart when she can put together a PowerPoint for a presentation, and she shows it to the whole family, and that's great. So I said, can you put together a presentation for the family, and we'll watch it? And so the other thing that really helps people learn is to teach. They say that best thing you can do is is teach it. You'll learn it a lot better by teaching it. It's a great way.
Definitely.
Craig, can you do that somewhere else? Sorry, I'm just getting a distraction. Okay, so the best. So where was I? So
yeah, the idea of teaching. So she did a PowerPoint presentation about the origin.
Yeah, she hasn't done it yet, but that's just another like example of, hey, that's interest her. I see that, right? How can we tie that into, she brought that up. It was her thing.
Yeah.
So hey, let's teach us about it, learn about it, and teach us about it, and learn more about it and teach us more about it. So
Very
those
cool.
are just like life just, it can just go like that. It's unbelievable. You don't even need a curriculum. You just need to fly after an interest. You just go, oh, you're interested in that, let's learn more about that. I mean, there's no, you have to learn this in grade 5 and you have to learn this in grade 6.
However, you did tell me once the fact that you do want your kids to learn math.
Yes,
now,
I do.
That's not something that they would.
No, my oldest is a math genius. My youngest is actually pretty good at math. My middle is not. Like, she's like me, not good at math at all.
Okay, so like the thing is that you want them to have math fundamentals.
Yeah, well, the thing, I believe that life isn't always just rainbows and lollipops. We have to force ourselves to do some difficult things. I mean, that I do. I mean, I'm an example of that. I have to clean my house. I have to cook dinner every single night. Like, life isn't all perfect, and it's just everything we want to do. So there is an idea that that unschooling, there's one extreme to the other, right? There's some parents that believe that think unschooling is this idea that and I don't use the term unschooling. I prefer to use like self-directed or child-based interest or child-centered. There's this idea they only do what they want all day, but that really, like, that's not life. So I don't feel like we'd be setting up my child for life if that was the case. So yeah, so they do math. But I do have a really great program that even my not good math child is actually she does really well in, because it's computer based, and they have little animated characters and then you can watch the number, like the 5 goes over here and we bring down the 2, and like you're watching it. And so for the visual kid, and it saves me from having to do any teaching, because I'm absolutely, like, math is really hard for me. So yeah, it's called teaching textbooks. I don't make any money for saying that, but I do want to share that if anybody does want to know.
Textbooks. I mean,
a friend of mine recommended it, and then and they give you 15 free lessons, so you can even just try it out. But it's amazing. Both my kids do it, and my daughter too. She has this goal. The 13-year-old, she has a goal of going to university, so she wants to keep up with the math part of it, because that will be a requirement for her. That's her plan right now. I don't. Okay. It could change, but we want to.
Yeah, sure. And so then let's talk about the 10-year-old.
Yeah. So she's my anxious kid. So this is a good conversation for here, because dealing with her is a whole totally different story, because my 13-year-old is very independent. She's very creative, so she'll just go on her own and work. And my anxious child, as parents here probably know, they're more needy, and they tend to be less independent. I don't know if that's always the case, but that's definitely the case.
The need for certainty is there for sure.
Yes. She wants reassurance, and is this right? Am I doing it right? But I don't think I can. And okay, but I only can if you're here beside me. So she's more needy, so she requires a lot more, like, no, you can. You're going to be okay. Call me if you start here. Or she just does better when I'm there too. So I try to set aside time where I'm just able to be present with her. And she's really interested in drawing and clay. She loves clay, which I do too. So she does a lot with art too. She likes comic book type things. So we're working on putting together a comic book for her. Yeah, so interest-based, it's harder with her, because she's just got a maybe different personality that's a little harder, sure. And she's younger too.
Yeah, but do you find then that, like, so she was in school, so was it kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2, or grade?
That's what she did. Yeah, she did. Yeah.
And so, what is it like socially for her? Like, is she the answer? Because we don't want her so that she's avoiding. So does she connect with other kids besides online, or how does that work?
Well, yeah, not right now, I guess too, and because we moved, so it's been basically a few months after moving here, the world was shut down, and like we haven't been able to do it. Like, but she's the personality that literally just doesn't need any. Like she has her sister and me, and she could just live like that. But she does have cousins that she does commune with online too. But yeah, she's not a social butterfly at all. She's the opposite. My other two need social interaction in a big way, and she is very much introverted and doesn't need it. But yeah, definitely that's a challenge, right? That's a big challenge. That would be something I would be working really hard at and putting a lot of energy into if it weren't for the pandemic, because right, even when we were opened up a little bit here, I got my oldest daughter into, she was doing Cosmo. She likes hair and nails and stuff like that. I got her into a homeschooling Cosmo class, which I had to drive like 45 minutes there and 45 minutes back. But I did that, and it was with a few other girls. And then I got her into a girls club, which I had to drive far again to. And it was a homeschool girls club because for her, the social aspect's really important. So those are the things I'm doing, but that's because we live really rurally and there just isn't here. Those options aren't just here. I got them both in dance, and I pushed my 10-year-old. I pushed her to do it, and she ended up loving it. Cried the first time. I had to ask the lady, like, this is always when you have the anxious kid, like you're the mom that is, the kid just clinging to you even when they're 10 years old. And there's, even a dance class when no one else is crying, and I just asking the teacher, can I sit in here for the first time? I'll work on getting myself out the door and just waving at the window, but can we just do it slowly? And the dance teacher was amazing, and she was great, and she was like, no problem. And she was super sweet. So of course, then my daughter was able to open up to her and feel safe there. And then she loved it. So, but I have to push. I always have to push when it comes to the things she wants to avoid, which is the social things for my daughter. So I push, but then that's all kind of come to a stop right now. So
because of the lockdown
the lockdowns made that none of that's open. Yeah,
but then getting back, but at the same time, the 10-year-old that tends to have more anxious thoughts, anxious feelings.
Yeah, totally. And big time separation anxiety, big time.
So then does she, because we're talking about learning and curiosity. So what would you say about that? You find that what is really, it's like you mentioned the comic book. Is there anything else that you find that's kind of like what lights her up?
Yeah, she loves flowers and nature. So you can go on stuff like that, right? Start researching different flowers. If she takes an interest in birds, which she hasn't, but if she did, you can start researching birds. But for her, you can start identifying different flowers. You could write a poem about a flower. You can press dried flowers, make pressed flowers. You can exhaust flowers, and then you can move on to something else, like whatever it is at the moment. And actually, too, the other thing is, too, both the girls got it. This happens a lot, too. This is the not so fun side of it, but they can be all about like, oh, let's do, it was embroidery. Let's do embroidery. Well, that lasted like 10 minutes, And I got like all the stuff, the kit, from Amazon, and we were like, embroidery, but then that's like boring. But you know what? At least we learned that we weren't that interested in embroidery, right? So it's life. It's just, we all do it, right? We all.
Well, it's experimenting. It's experimenting, right? I think experimenting and discovering, and
it all has value.
Being curious, right?
Yeah. So that's important right there. Just being curious.
And what would you say about your 20-year-old? Because, does he still live with you? Does he have anything that lights him up? What lights him up?
He's really good on his guitar. He's amazing. He does like video games. But that's right now. There's social. Like he can play with his friends from everywhere we've lived. So that's kind of nice. But yeah, he's really into guitar. That really lights him up because he's up there jamming all the time by himself. Just to hear him. I know it was a good day at work when he gets home. He actually has a job at a graphic design place. And when he gets home I can hear when he gets home, I hear the guitar playing. I'm like, oh, he's had a good day. He's, so.
And the design, is that something that he went to study for?
No, he didn't do that. he actually wants to go to school, but he wants to wait until he's that, because of his personality, and he would do it he would love the social interaction of school. He wants it to be back in actually going to school. He has friends that are going to school, and it kind of got really sad for them because they paid for this residency and they paid all this money, and then they ended up having to live at home and lost all that money and are just doing it on the computer, you know. He doesn't want that. So he's kind
of waiting. He's waiting
in limbo, but he's got a great job. He's doing really well. Yeah, the guy just hired him, and he does like everything there. He answers the phones, or some days he's wrapping cars with the wrap that you know, like that plastic vinyl wrap, or all kinds of stuff there. He's learning lots too. Yeah.
And what else would you say then about the two daughters? Because the 13-year-old now, so she up to grade 5, she was in a regular classroom.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
And then, you know, and you said she's very creative, and of course the 10-year-old is also creative.
Yeah, she is.
Sometimes we can get into labels. This is the anxious and creative, but actually someone who's anxious could actually be creative.
That's true. That's so true. Yeah.
But anyway, getting back to that, the 13-year-old. So what would you say? You mentioned earlier about Travel and Style and the magazine. Would you say that's something that came because of the fact that you were doing this, or do you think that was, and that's kind of a hard thing to know, but do you think that she naturally attracted to it?
I think it's got to be a natural attraction, because it's funny to me, because I never was the parent that braided my kids. Like, I don't like to do hair. My hair is always in a clip. It's super boring. There's no makeup on me. There's my nails never, ever done, ever. I don't even like my nails done. I had to go pick her up from the Cosmo or the class, and the teacher offered to do offered if she would do my nails. And Taya was almost dying laughing inside, because she knew I would want to say no, but I tried to say it nicely, like, no, thank you, but I just really don't like nail polish on my nails. Like, so she didn't get it from me. Okay. And so
that's how it is.
It's definitely her. It's definitely her.
Okay.
This is her thing. Yeah.
Well, that's good. So, because we started with the fact that you said that, you know, traditional school kind of sucked the joy out of you, the ADD, and not feeling like that the system was really honoring your strengths. So what would you say the strength of your kids are? Like, starting with the 10-year-old.
Super perceptive. Super duper perceptive. Yeah. Like, okay. I'm just
perceptive. And the
I would say the other one, she's super like deep thinker. Okay. Like, she gets concepts on deeper levels. And then if my son, what would he be? He's a math genius. I don't even know where he gets that from, because he just always was. So actually, I'll tell you, I think I've told you this, Anne, but I'll say this to the group too, is that so he went into grade 5, in the middle of grade 5, and literacy was very poor for him. I didn't push reading and writing. I didn't push it at all, because it was, I can't even explain. It was super painful. Like, he would open a book and his brain would hurt. So I didn't push it. I actually had a friend who did testing on kids. She said, yeah, he's probably got some kind of dyslexia for sure. I just, like, you know, whatever, like, it's just a label, whatever. But so he was definitely seeing things, you know, letters and things weren't just jiving for him. So, but math, he was always really smart at, but just putting it on paper. So I can remember him coming home and saying, Mom, they want me to put the math on the paper. And I'm like, yeah, I know, it's crazy, eh? And then I went in for parent-teacher interview, and the teacher was like, you know, he started off like everything was all over the place. He didn't know how to put things on the paper. I go, yeah, I didn't push that. Sorry. Like, he really, like, poor kid just got thrown in. But he did amazing. And then the teacher told me, you know, his mental math is actually better than my math, but I just can't get him. Like, he's struggling to get it on the paper. I'm like, yeah, I know. But, you know, he caught up within, like, he was so quick to catch up that, you know, he was doing grade 11, 12 math tests without even studying, and just acing them. Like, and, you know, so he never he never suffered by not having anyone push him up until grade 5.5. He never had anyone pushing him in those areas, and he still ended up being a math genius. Never pushed math, never pushed literacy. He takes, because in Ontario they take you either take college or university, like in high school you take college or university classes depending on whether you want to go to college or university. And he took university classes, and in English and everything he did great, just great. No, not behind, like he's in the honor roll, like he's above me. Yeah. So actually, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, and what kind of is, it's kind of a learning, well, basically what you said, that the beginning, that often we think you can't learn unless you're taught.
That's right. And the thing is it really just takes self-motivation. So, a part of it's probably he didn't want to be the kid in the class that didn't know how to write on the paper. So he learned how to write on the paper, that was the motivation that he maybe needed to kick his butt, So I whatever it was, it's this idea that we need to be taught. That sort of theory kind of proves that wrong. And I've read research reports relating that same idea that kids that weren't force-fed through this many grades and then at this certain level were tested with kids that were force-fed, and the kids that weren't force-fed, it learned it quicker and better than the kids that were constantly spoon-fed it throughout and that was done in math. I read a study on math. So there's definitely
something to learn for that.
Yeah.
So final thoughts as we wrap up.
Oh, actually, one other little thing, because I was just listening to a book, and it was a university study done with little kids, 4-year-old kids. They were put in a room, two different rooms, and this was done on multiple sets of kids. And the doctor that did the study, she went in with this toy that was like some kind of multi-sensory toy. And she went into one room and explained to them, this is all how it works. Here's this makes it beep, this makes it jingle, And then she went into the other room and she just accidentally hit the beep on it and just acted startled and left it. And hands down, every time the numbers were crazy in the different, that the kids that were taught, hey, this is how you use it, weren't interested. The kids that weren't taught, the kid, they had natural curiosity about it. They were like, oh, what is this? What if I do this? What will it do? And it was major. I have to get you. I think I wrote it down when I was listening to it.
Very interesting. Yeah, those
it was really neat.
A lot of things that about the natural curiosity, right?
Very much so. Yeah.
So if somebody is listening to this, I would say probably in the replay, what would you suggest if somebody is just starting on this and they want to encourage their kids to have more curiosity? Yeah, natural curiosity.
Yeah, okay. So you're talking from a mindset where you still have to be in the school system too, right? Maybe more so?
Yeah, there are still.
Because my first advice would be just get them away from that, because that's going to suck the creativity out, away, right? But you can still, even in that environment, you can still nurture aside from. And also too, I know I have friends that are in that situation where you're trying to do the remote learning thing, and that's really, really hard. It's really, really hard. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with, so for my 13-year-old, I went into my school and I just be honest and like straight up honest with teachers. Obviously you can't go into the school, but you go online and you say, you know what, we're struggling hard here. This is sucking the life out. Like, it's hard on our whole family. I know for my 13-year-old anyway, what I went in and I said was, we're not doing homework and this is why. And so I had my case, and it was like, it's not good in our house. When it takes half an hour to write a sentence, we're not doing that. It's not benefiting anybody. I assure you, not one person is benefiting in that situation, and it isn't happening. So, we as parents, we have the say. We really do. Don't think that you don't have say. We have say. We absolutely have say. And if you have I think most teachers generally they would care and want to make it better for the child and what's best for the child. If people are being honest but kind, generally have a kind way of going about it. Don't be nasty. And I think generally, if you're honest and you're kind, I think you'll be well received. And so there would be nothing wrong with saying, you know what, these assignments are not good in our home. They're not working out well. So for a little while, we're just going to do this and this and this, and I'll send you some reports or some, I don't know. I'm just saying, I'm just kind of, you could go think creativity.
I think that's what you're saying. I think it's using our own creative mind.
Yeah, this is what will work for us. This is what we're going to try. And honestly, if you're met with resistance, then just be confident. This is what we're doing. Sorry. But if you're met with,
you're teaching your kids too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But your
living by example is the biggest. We learn authentically because we live authentically. And I don't want anything that's not authentic in my house. If we're force feeding, I'm not doing that. It's not going to happen. But, and so I think, and get out in nature, because nature right now, especially the weather's getting nicer everywhere. Just take deep breaths out in nature, get out walking, talking, feel out your kids. It's a hard time right now because kids aren't seeing other kids. Really find things that cater to your family and the things you guys like to do. And, I had a friend who was having a really hard time, and, I give her little pep talks, it was a terrible weekend, and we just found out we were in another lockdown. And I said, you know what? Our family likes the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It was going to be rain all weekend. We're just going to do a marathon, and we're all just going to sit and eat popcorn and watch Lord of the Rings. And, sometimes that's okay. And, so you just kind of, every family's different. Some families like to go for bike rides. I wish we were that family, because I think that would be fun. Go for bike rides.
I think what I'm getting, though, is the idea of being flexible and adaptable, which is what being a resilient family is, right? You're flexible and adaptable. Yeah. Flexible and adaptable. And I think that's what I'm getting from what you said.
And you have to be creative.
So we have that in flexible, adaptable, and creative.
Because you know what? You got to think of ways that, instead of getting stuck in what you can't do, you got to think in ways of what you can. What can we do, right? So we can't do this, but we can do this. And how can, try to get creative. Spend time thinking about it. I do a ton of thinking when I take my dogs for walks. I just think. So just give yourself time. Just time.
But I kind of think that when you mention the creative part, naturally, to be flexible and adaptable, we have to use our creativity.
That's true. That is true. It all kind of goes
together. It's kind of like a triad,
Yeah.
Be creative, be flexible, be adaptable.
That happens to be a strength for me. Adaptability. It happens to be a strength for me.
Well, that's great. And it seems like you've been able to do that, right? Juggling different temperaments and 3 different school journeys, or I guess we could call them educational journeys or learning journeys. Yeah. Actually, that's what it is. Learning journey. I'm going to remember that one.
I like that.
Learning journey, because, and I'll just conclude like what you said, it's not true that we can't learn unless we're taught.
That's not true at all. Please don't believe that. We learn constantly. And actually this world is so changing that now I kind of joke about how old school is. School is so old school. This idea that you have to have a teacher at the top of we can learn on our phone more than we could in a classroom. Sure. It doesn't even make sense how much emphasis we put on.
Yeah, information is everywhere. Well, anyway, thanks so much. And I look forward to anyone listening to comment either now or in the replay. Bye for now.
Okay, bye. Bye. Thank you.
Thanks
Have a good day, everybody. Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.